Efficiency. When it comes to electric cars, it's the magic that makes everything better. A really efficient electric car can go further on a charge than a normal electric car with the same size battery, which means you spend less time and money charging, or it means you can just fit it with a smaller battery, which makes the car cheaper to buy, more eco-friendly, lighter. Being lighter makes it better to drive, more comfortable, more efficient. You get the idea. When it comes to EVs, efficiency good. Now, we've driven some incredibly efficient EVs on the channel recently, the Mercedes EQXX, the Lightyear Zero, but respectively those are a concept and a $250,000 halo car. The car we're here to drive today is a little bit more down to earth, despite looking like it's from a different planet. It is quite simply the most efficient electric car ever made, yet prices start at less than half the cost of a Tesla Model 3. This is the Aptera, and this is fully charged.
Fully Charged Live is coming to California this September 10th and 11th, powered by Electrify America. Get your tickets to the #1 EV and home energy show now.
All right, dudes, we're here in California with the Aptera. You have requested this particular car on the channel many times over, and we've made it happen for you. This is a big one. So what is it? Well, as you can quite clearly tell, it's a study in hyper efficiency. Not unlike the Lightyear Zero that we drove recently, this is a car that, through a combination of solar power and an incredibly efficient design, you may never need to charge. You may have to charge it a handful of times a year. You might just never have to charge it, depending on your use case. It's the brainchild of a small Californian company who've actually been looking to realize this dream for a very long time. They wanted to bring this car to market over a decade ago and were unable to do so for a number of reasons, but now they're back with some funding and it's all starting to look very real and very promising. So, how far can it go? How efficient is it? These are the things that you want to know. I'll tell you. First, a quick refresher in terms of relative efficiency. Porsche Taycan, one of my favorite cars, one of the least efficient EVs on the road, that'll give you roughly 2 miles per kilowatt hour. That's its efficiency. Tesla Model 3, the poster child for efficiency among production EVs. On a good day, you're looking at 5, maybe 5.5 miles per kilowatt hour. The Lightyear Zero, a car specifically designed to be as efficient as possible. An incredible $250,000 hyper efficient EV, 7 miles per kilowatt hour. The Aptera, 10 miles per kilowatt hour, which means that if you spec it with the big battery, which is 100 kilowatt hours, it can do 1,000 miles on a charge. That's a genuine 1,000 mile EV. Or you could do what I would suggest doing, spec the entry level model with a mere 25 kilowatt hour battery. That'll get you 250 miles of range for $25,900. Now, with some government incentives thrown in, which Aptera is hoping to obtain, this car may be yours for less than $20,000. Less than $20,000. 250 miles of range. World's most efficient electric vehicle. And this is no pipe dream. This is pretty close to being ready. What I have behind me here is an alpha prototype. It's an early prototype. It looks finished because they've dressed it up like a finished car because it was sort of the demo car. Over there somewhere, we've got a beta prototype, which looks way less finished, but is actually quite a lot more finished. It's got production ready or nearly production ready suspension. Later this year, we're going to see the first Gamma prototypes. Those are the ones that are basically ready to roll, and production will begin, and first customer deliveries will commence next year. Next year, my friends. It's real. So let's take a little stroll around the Aptera and try to understand, well, how it achieves its insane efficiency. I'm not really going to do a design walk around because frankly it would be facetious to critique the design of a vehicle so specifically built for one singular purpose. It does look mad, I'll say that. We've been out on the road in it. You get a few stairs. There are hypercars that cost 20 times the price of this that turn less heads. So if that's what you're into, I've found your new car. Now, the first and most obvious way that this car achieves its incredible efficiency is through aerodynamics. Drag coefficient of 0.13. Now, For context, Lightyear 0, 0.20. Tesla Model 3, 0.22. This car makes a Tesla look like a fridge, aerodynamically speaking. It's ever so swoopy, and we've seen the pointy nose and the teardropped bottom before on other production EVs, but what I can safely say I've never seen is this kind of tucked underbelly. There are aerodynamic reasons for that, which I can't quite get my small brain around, and we'll have to talk to Chris, the CEO, a bit later on to get the full understanding of how that works. But it is a truly remarkable vehicle. On the Aptera website, they compare the design of this car to a swooping dolphin. And that sounds like some PR spiel, but then you look at it and you're like, oh no, that's a swoopy dolphin with wheels. But that's one of only 4 ways that it achieves its astonishing efficiency. Another way is through weight or lack thereof. The entire vehicle weighs 2,000 pounds, which is 1/3 of the weight of our F-150 Lightning that's parked outside. Very, very lightweight. Body is made from a special composite material, which is 6 times tougher than steel for its weight. So in spite of being very, very lightweight, it's actually very safe in crashes. They've designed it very cleverly to ensure that even side-on impact, you are quite well protected. So very lightweight, very efficient. We've also got these in-wheel motors. We recognize this from the Lightyear 0. It's actually the same company that makes the in-wheel motors for the Aptera. 1-to-1 ratio. The motor spins, the wheel spins, 0 energy wasted through differentials and gears. It just makes sense on a vehicle like this. And then the Aptera's little party piece, as far as achieving efficiency, it's a 3-wheeler. Look at this. Now, this does a few things. It allows them to create this incredibly aerodynamic shape, but it also reduces the weight of the vehicle significantly, and of course the rolling resistance. Now, as a result of its 3-wheel design, the Aptera is legally classified as a motorbike, but it is quite a big motorbike, about 4.4 meters long. That's a little bit bigger than an ID3, say, and 2.2 meters wide. You do want stability on a 3-wheeler, and to achieve that, it does have quite a wide set stance at the front. Going to struggle to get it down some narrow London roads if we're being truthful, but it won't topple over, so that's good. Solar panels, it's got them on the roof. Interestingly, I don't get the impression from having talked to the Aptera team that this is like Lightyear, where they started with the solar panels and worked their way down. I sort of think it's the other way around here. I think they designed a really, really, really efficient car and then thought, well, may as well throw some solar panels on it because it's so efficient that it would really benefit from them. Up to 40 miles of range a day through these solar panels, if you live in California, about 4 if you live in London, I'd imagine. And they're sort of everywhere. We've got them on the roof, we've got them on the bonnet, we've got them on the dash inside the car, which is so, so cool. Really big fan of those. And then round the back, a few more things, but can we just acknowledge that that is the maddest rear end you ever did see in your life? I cannot express to you how confused people are when you drive past them in this thing. It is a remarkable looking vehicle, really quite beautiful, I think, from the back, quite Star Wars as well. So obviously we've got just the one wheel, very, very cool. A couple of other things I want to flag. Skin cooling, that's a really interesting feature that Aptera like to talk about. So what that means is all the hardware that would typically require cooling through a vent in the front, instead what they do here is it's kind of all just pressed up against the undercarriage of the car, and the wind passing underneath the car provides sufficient cooling for the battery and the inverter. What that means is you don't need a big opening at the front, ruining your drag coefficient. It keeps things nice and slippery. And truthfully, none of that stuff gets that hot anyway, because the car doesn't use much power, because it doesn't need much power, because it's very efficient. That is beautifully elegant. We actually talked about this idea of air cooling when we first had a look at the EQXX, and a lot of you were very skeptical in the comments about, is that going to work? Surely it won't provide enough cooling. Well, here is living proof of the fact that it does work in a very efficient car that doesn't create much heat. And then one last thing, just for fun, just to show you this. Look at this, look at this. That's the charge port underneath the number plate. Come on, that's just cool. Unnecessary, but cool. And I'm okay with that. And then we have an impressively large boot. This will not make the production car. Please disregard this. They really didn't want me to show it to you, but I have done now. It's an alpha prototype. But would you look at the size of this boot? you could get a very large piece of cheese in there. Hello, scissor doors. Oh yes. Interior, completely unfinished on this Alpha prototype. Not much value in analysing it too closely. This is Tesla switchgear, so is this. That appears to just be a PC monitor. It's gonna improve a little bit. It's an Alpha prototype. Things worth noting, it's a two-seater, clearly. Camera wing mirrors, naturally, it would be insane to lump big wing mirrors on a car so deliberately slippery. Interesting tidbit, they're actually going to move the two screens for the camera wing mirrors just in front of the driver, two of them right there, so you can see exactly what's going on behind you without even having to turn your head. That's quite a nice little thought. So we won't have a gauge cluster or any screen in front of you, just this one screen in the middle a la Tesla Model 3 with our speedo in the corner here, nice big map, and a load of little efficiency encouraging features, which we'll talk about a little bit when we go for a drive in a second. Oh, it's cool. Let's begin right at the beginning. What's the fundamental idea that spawned this crazy vehicle?
You know, Aptera is really the solution to the math equation for efficient transportation. Where does the energy go when you're traveling at highway speeds in any kind of transportation device? We found that 60% of the energy goes to just pushing air out of the way in a typical sedan or SUV. So aerodynamics is really important if you want to make an efficient vehicle. The second biggest loss is rolling resistance, so how heavy your vehicle is. It takes energy to deform your tire on every rotation, so the lighter weight your vehicle, the more efficient it'll be. And then it's all about your powertrain. How much energy are you getting from your fuel source to your wheels? Combustion vehicles are just horrible. You lose 75% of your energy burning petroleum, getting power to your wheels. You know, you only get 25–27% of the energy out of the gasoline that you burn, which is just preposterous to, you know, an engineering mind that says we got to do better. And then if you put those three things together, aerodynamics, lightweight, efficient powertrain, you end up with something that looks like this, something that gets 350 miles per gallon equivalent. And then you can do cool things like add solar to the top. So we add a 700 watt solar panel to the top of our vehicle, and that basically gives you 40 free miles of solar charging per day. But it's all enabled by how efficient the vehicle platform, and I think that's where Aptera is really different. You see a lot of EVs that are coming out as SUVs or pickup trucks or big luxury sedans. You know, that's kind of a completely different direction on the efficiency scale. And we're closer to like the solar racers that you see, you know, in the middle of Australia that colleges put together, you know, all focused on efficiency. So that's really the impetus for the company, is how do we make transportation more efficient? And if you look at it as a math equation, there's certain things you can tick those things off, and you end up with this.
I described this in the intro. We're talking about how efficiency is kind of like the magic key to just making electric cars. It's almost an endless list of benefits to increasing efficiency within an EV. 60%, did you say that right? 60% of the energy used up is just pushing air out of the way when you're driving at speed.
It gets even worse at like 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour. So if you're really burning on the highway, you're using the vast majority of your energy just pushing air. So if you're driving around in a Mercedes G-Class or, you know, a big SUV, like it's just a brick plowing through the air. And you see this, you know, it's like a fish swimming through the water or a bird flying through the air. You know, nature has evolved those things to be the most efficient shape. And we've had to use computational fluid dynamics to refine this shape. Nature did that millions of years ago to show you, hey, if you're a fish, you don't want to be shaped like a brick. There's no brick-shaped fish. So that's us. We're the evolved transportation device.
All right, let's go for a drive. Now, they don't let just anyone drive it. They certainly don't let just anyone drive it by themselves. Yet inexplicably, they've decided to let me. Let's not question it too much. So, drive, slightly pre-prod handbrake in, and away we go in the Aptera Alpha prototype. Okay, this is weird. First things first, the view out is mad. It's mad. It's halfway between being in a spaceship, an aircraft, and a dolphin. Just the shape and curvature of this windscreen, it's quite unlike any view out I've ever seen before in my life. Now we have to make very clear, this is super pre-production, particularly the suspension or lack thereof on this Alpha model. I have just been out in the beta, the Mad Max looking thing, and it's really refined. The suspension feels great, it's comfortable. This one is going to bang a lot on the speed bumps, and there are going to be a lot of speed bumps because I'm only allowed to drive it around the car park, which is fair enough. And let me show you this. Now that we're around the back of the building and no one's looking, here's something I bet you weren't expecting this vehicle to be able to do. I think I just did a burnout in the world's most efficient electric car. This thing is fast. Nice light steering, we've got power steering even in this Alpha car. And much like the Lightyear, efficiency is being pushed to the forefront of my mind by the car. The car wants me to know that efficiency is the name of the game here. And a couple of examples of how it's doing that. Number one, we've got a kind of mock-up of the infotainment screen here, what it will look like. And along the top, there's a lot of buttons that I can press to increase range by turning off certain features. So it's saying, hey, if you were to turn the aircon off, you get 10 more miles of range. If you were to turn your heated seat off, you'd be getting 15 more miles of range. And I like that. I like the fact the car is going, look, you've got all these nice features, you can use them if you want, but if you didn't, you could go further. And the other thing that's making me very aware of the fact that I'm in an efficient solar car is the fact that the dash is strewn with solar panels. The dashboard is covered in these bendy, sticky solar panels. They are stuck pretty much wherever they can be stuck, which is part of the reason why this car achieves its impressive maximum solar daily range of 40 miles. And trust me, today, in sunny California, we're getting 40 miles. The truth is, once you recover from the weirdness of the view out, it just feels like a little car. It's compact, the steering is light, it's nice and simple to drive, really. So just tell me a little bit about the current state of the company then. We're in a lovely new facility here just outside of San Diego. What stage are things at and what comes next?
Yeah, we have a lovely 80,000 square foot facility here in Carlsbad, California, which is basically north San Diego. We also have another 130,000 square foot plant just down the street, about 2 miles. That plant's going to be for sub-assemblies, so we'll sub-assemble the solar and the front and rear suspension assemblies and the battery pack, and then we'll bring all the sub-assemblies here, and this will be the final assembly location. And we have this already mapped out with 12 assembly stations and then QC at the end, to where an Aptera gets built in about 2 hours stem to stern and then drives out of the plant. So we're looking to fill this factory closer to the end of the year. The first robots are supposed to show up in September, October, and then we're looking to deliver our first production intent vehicle by the end of the year, and then scale production in 2023. Obviously, you know, to start production, you know, at 800 vehicles a month, you have to have a lot of things in place. So it takes us a few months to do that, but we think we'll be ripping and roaring in 2023 and 2024. So
looking to hit the ground running with those production numbers right off the bat. And how many pre-orders, by the way?
We have over 27,000 people that have pre-ordered an Aptera.
Is that exciting, terrifying, or both?
It's both. I like to harken back to, I played college football, and you know, you go to a football stadium that has 20,000 people and you look around and it's a lot of people. So I imagine 27,000 Aptera fans in a big stadium cheering for us to accomplish our mission. But it is a daunting task because that's a lot of people. So we don't want to start production with a trickle and, you know, build 5 a day and then 10 a day. We want to start production in a very full and healthy fashion, building 40 and then 80 vehicles a day. And we think that'll help us, you know, clear through our pre-orders very quickly. Obviously, you know, pre-orders are going up every day. So, you know, every day it's a bigger and bigger challenge, but it's exciting to think that we can almost immediately have an impact on transportation. And because we're 5 times more efficient than the average EV now, you know, every Aptera that's on the road is really having an impact on how people are using energy. Transportation that's made for efficiency, that can charge itself and doesn't take from the grid, really is a solution that's impactful, you know, not just to people's pocketbooks and not just to make the world a more efficient place, but to make the whole thing work long term. You know, if all electric vehicles are the thing, then they should be very efficient and they should not take much from the grid.
Well, what a day this has been. You join me in the back of the ApTENTra This is a very concept-y demonstration of a fun feature you'll be able to enjoy in your Aptera, which is camping. In the back of it, apparently I'm the guy who camps in the boots of electric cars now. I don't want to be that guy. I've done it now. I'm not doing it again, although it'll be a lot better doing it in California. Well, as I'm sure you can imagine, I'm fairly blown away by what I've seen today. It is one of the strangest cars I've ever driven, that's for sure, but one of the most impressive as well. I'm again reminded how important efficiency is with EV design. And there's a couple things that strikes me about the Aptera. Number one is that they've achieved this astonishing efficiency without really compromising it all that much as a car. It just feels like a little car once you get used to the weird view out. It's not uncomfortable, it's not poorly equipped, it's just a simple little car that fits to and goes a really long way on its charge. And the other thing that this makes abundantly clear is that the key to making electric cars cheaper sooner rather than later is efficiency. Electric car prices are largely determined by how much battery is in them. And batteries will get cheaper, slowly but surely, and with that, EV prices will drop. But for the meantime, while batteries are really expensive, the way to make cheap electric cars is to make electric cars that don't need much battery, like this one behind me, like this magnificent swoopy Dolphin. I love this thing, and I cannot wait to come back here and have a go in the finished article sometime next year. An astonishing vehicle, and another indicator that hopefully we're witnessing a real design mindset change in this industry, where efficiency, not excess, is king. A man can dream. So there we go, Aptera, ApTENTra, floaty Dolphin, remarkable vehicle. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have been, thank you for watching.